Hello and welcome to another edition of Point of View with me, Wasbir Hussain. It has been 24 hours since the government of India has confirmed that the blast in Delhi that killed 13 people and injured several others were indeed a terror incident. Now, the NIA and multiple other security agencies have already gathered frightening inputs. They've already gathered frightening inputs probing the agencies, and they have said that nearly they've already gathered frightening. One such input is that the terror module, now coming to be described by some as the Jais Doctor module, was planning to prepare as many as 32 explosive laden vehicles to carry out multiple explosions in Delhi. The inputs gains credence because the J&K police initiated probe led to the recovery of nearly 3,000 kg of explosive materials from doctors in Faridabad who are of course now in police custody. Another sinister input that has emerged is that the doctor who drove the I-20 car, Muhammad Umar alias Umar Nabi, had visited Turkey. Not only Turkey, he is now reported to have also visited Nepal, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, and they had at least one or two handlers, one going under the code name Dr. Ukasha and the other of course going under the code name Dr. Hashim alias Arif Nisar. Now, but the question is, are the doctors involved in this white-collar terror ecosystem, whether they are homegrown rebels or whether they have been radicalized by terror masterminds in Pakistan and elsewhere, or even through the huge Islamist radical content circulating in the social media? To discuss this and more, I am joined tonight by a very distinguished panel. Joining me from Delhi is Lieutenant General retired Syed Ata Hasnain, former commander of the Srinagar-based 15 Corps and currently the Chancellor of the Central University of Kashmir. With me is Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia, distinguished fellow of the Gateway House, who has been one of India's finest diplomats, joining me from Noida. Also with me is Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General Infantry and of course a Siachen hero, and joining me from Delhi of course. And joining me from Goa is Dr. Bibhu Prasad Rotre, Director Mantraya Institute for Strategic Studies, who had been a former Deputy Director at the National Security Council Secretariat in New Delhi. Gentlemen, welcome to Point of View. Let me start with you, General Ata Hasnain. Sir, we have seen professionals being, drafted by terror groups in the past, whether it is ISIS or whether it is groups elsewhere. This time around also we have seen a series of doctors being involved in this particular case. We are talking about the Delhi blast, and in fact it has already got itself the code name Jais Doctor module. Now, what do you see new in the Delhi blast and the faces behind the terror of the Delhi blast? What is new according to you?
Thank you, Wasbir Saab. It's a pleasure joining you for the first time.
Thank you, sir.
And there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to discuss in this particular case. You've made some very important points in your introduction. If I may start by saying that by and large, we have been safe from terror as far as the urban centers of India is concerned for the better part of the last 15 years. We have managed to isolate and keep terror restricted to Jammu and Kashmir. We've had Pulwama, we've had Pahalgam, we've had Pathankot and things of that nature. It obviously reflects the fact that while we neutralized a number of terrorists in Kashmir, we have brought the strength down from over 4,000 down to just 100. What is still evident is that the networks which support terror, those networks have been dented but not neutralized. Now, this is an evolving thing. Terrorists, when they undertake terrorist operations of this kind, learn their lessons as much as we learn our lessons from our counter-terrorist operations. To my mind, an early deduction which I can put before our panel is that I think, by and large, white-collar workers in Jammu and Kashmir were known to be only overground workers. They were never terrorists. They were never the cannon fodder. But when it comes to high-profile operations, outside Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of India, and if you're telling me that there were 32 vehicles being prepared for such an operation, obviously there is a need for better, more intelligent, better educated people to be a part of this module. I think even if you take the lessons from 2611, most of those people who came in were uneducated, basically cannon fodder from the streets of Karachi and the streets of Lahore.
Right.
This time they decided to have better educated people. Well, this is not something which has happened overnight. Obviously, this module has been put together over a period of time. They have been radicalized. They were already showing all the signs of being radical, and they were radicalized further with the availability of the kind of radicalization material which is there online in the cyber space today. And they were hoping that the presence of such people, a doctor's module, would be the least suspected thing in the capital of India. We are indeed very fortunate that the putting up of the Jaish-e-Mohammed posters in the Jama Masjid in Srinagar, which was caught by a policeman there, or I think a worker there, finally led to investigations
Yes.
which have opened up a huge Pandora's box of what could possibly have happened in the capital city of India.
Absolutely, that one action where these people that Rather, Dr. Adil Rather was seen plastering the walls in Srinagar with posters supporting the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and it coming under the radar of the J&K police led to the recovery and busting of the terror module in Faridabad and elsewhere. I think, yes, as General Hussain said, that was indeed saved us from a lot of further damage. Let me come to you, Ambassador Bhatia. Ambassador Bhatia, you know, we day before yesterday when we were on the show, we were discussing, you know, that earlier it was Jammu and Kashmir. There were about, in the last 2 years, 160 Islamist terrorist related arrests have been made outside of J&K. That means what we are seeing today, I will ask this question to General Hussain slightly later because he has written a superb article in the Indian Express today, New Indian Express. Now the point is, does it mean that terror is getting unnoticed? Terror is going unnoticed in the soft underbelly of the metropolitan cities in India because people are busy with their own lives and people hardly take notice, because these guys, Dr. Umar Nabi and Dr. Shakil, they have visited multiple countries, Turkey, Nepal, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and they have handlers there, not just in Pakistan.
Thank you very much. I can see that for this channel, this issue is of immense national and perhaps international importance, and that's why we are revisiting it in 2 days. I'm afraid there is some electricity problem, but we will continue nonetheless. The answer to your question, Wasbir, is that obviously, in many ways, we have advanced into the 21st century, and we are seeing the brand new face, so to say, of urban terrorism in India as well. It is said that wars are born in the minds of men. And I think the same thing can be said about terrorism. Terrorism, the seeds are sown in the mind, and that is why, as you have noticed, experts always talk about the impact of radicalization, the impact of ideology, and in whatever fashion we fight terrorism through modern weapons and technology, intelligence, and the rest of it, at the end of the day, we have to also resort to serious education. Now, here, your specific question, are we becoming oblivious of the very various manifestations of terrorist activity within our own metropolitan towns? I think it's a difficult question to answer in a binary manner.
Yeah.
I think by and large citizens are vigilant, they are aware, but obviously authorities have to be more so. And whatever you may say, but the fact is that everybody agrees that this recent terrorist incident, and I'm very happy that the government has now designated it as such. You remember 2 days back we debated that. I think it makes it very clear that now the damage has been controlled. It could have been really much, much worse. That is the consolation we can take. But we will have to work for a situation where these things simply don't occur and they vanish from the face of India.
Absolutely, absolutely, very well said, Ambassador Bhatia. Let me quickly have opening remarks from the two other panelists. Let me go to General Kulkarni. General Saab, basically now that the confirmation has come that it was an act of terror, definitely, because the extent of damage that it created, the amount of the explosive materials that have been seized and recovered, and so on and so forth, and now these inputs coming in. Now, you see, do you think that somehow or the other we were focusing on Kashmir and people in the valley, Kashmir Valley, or whether things like that, and there, while focusing our attention on Kashmir, we have somehow or the other, despite the huge success of our security agencies in the last couple of years, because there are at least 5 years where there were zero fatality in the Kashmir Valley and so on, because of terrorism, due to terrorism, and in our urban centers also, there was not much of terrorist activities. People were having some kind of a relaxed life. Do you think somewhere our focus was too Kashmir-centric?
Thank you, Wasif, and fantastic panel. We couldn't have asked for better. First and foremost, as regards Kashmir is concerned, the north and the south. Now, the South Kashmir was a focus for a long time, and in the last about 3 years, where Rajouri, Punj, you found south of Pipanjal, a lot of activities taking place, and the kind of terrorists involved were also different. There was a general feeling that north of Kashmir, things seem quite under control, firstly, because of the presence, and secondly, there's been a lot of development that has taken place over there, and hopefully things were looking up, tourism in a big way, and therefore to say that north was neglected would be wrong, but definitely there's a lot of presence over there, and hence that freedom of action to the terrorists wasn't there in north as much as it had in the south, primarily because of the terrain and the kind of terrorism mixed with guerrilla warfare in the south of terrorism or south of Pipanjal, and north of Pipanjal was a different setup altogether. Having said that, this particular module was working for the last about 3-4 years. They had been visiting Turkey, they had been visiting all over, so there had been a lot which has been going on. Even Dr. Shaheen, that lady who was involved, of course, was in touch with the Hizbul, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the sister of Masood Azhar, has also
Masood Azhar,
lady over there, Vivi over there, plus this lady Syed. So you find that there's a lot that is happening over there. At the same time, these doctors also, indoctrination, radicalization, to say that white-collar terrorism has just about emanated would be wrong again. It was always there.
Okay.
Our own interaction in the valley has been there. These people were there. It isn't that. But just that they rather used their brains through somebody else to put things in action. And now, at this point of time, I think they suddenly decided, obviously, Pakistan caused the shot. But then to always be saying that it would be Pakistan, of course Pakistan would do it. Pakistan is the enemy, and Pakistan is doing what the enemy should be doing. So we should always be prepared for this kind of thing. But
Jan Saab, let me, yes, a very important point you made there. Let me quickly ask Bibur Otre before going back to back to General Hussain. Dr. Bibur Otre, do you think that, I was asking this question earlier as well, do you think after the battering that Pakistan received at the hands of India during Operation Sindoor, do you think they're working overtime to take it on India and intensify their proxy wars? Do you think this model has been working for years and now they decided to give shape to it and create some damage? Do you get that sense?
Thank you. I don't think there has been a certain spurt in the attempt to carry out terror. Let me sort of give you a data. Now, everybody is talking about this attack being the first attack since 2011 in Delhi, and this attack being the first attack outside Kashmir since 2013, which was the last attack being in Hyderabad. But if you look at the terror modules being busted over the years, this remains significantly high. 2025, for example, between August and October, before this particular incident, 4 modules were busted in and around Delhi. 25 terror modules were busted all over the country. If you look at data for 2024, 23, and going backwards, you will see the significant number of modules being busted. So it's always been an attempt by groups affiliated with Pak-based militant groups or people who are acting on their own, like the homegrown kind of stuff, who self-radicalize themselves, who organize themselves in their own way. There has been a constant attempt, and this is a part of that attempt by groups who are affiliated with Pakistan or who are not. So this has to be seen in that context.
Right. Let me go back once again to General Atta Hussain. General Saab, I read your very, as I said in the beginning, superb article in the New Indian Express this morning, and where you say that, okay, de-radicalization programs, whether it is from Europe to Southeast Asia, are going on. They're showing uneven results. And you have also said that our agencies, like particularly the NIA and others, they have done a huge crackdown on funding, cross-border flows, and able to choke the resources. Yet, ideological networks of preachers, influencers, and they are operating within the, as you say, legality of religious expression in using sermons and social media use so much. Do you think that is leading to a new breed of terrorists who really do not need handlers as such?
That's a very interesting question, and thank you for having read my article. If I may start this response by just commenting very briefly and complimenting Dr. Ratre for his observation, which is absolutely spot on. That what happens very often is that we tend to neglect the number of modules which have been busted because the media always puts them on the 7th page. The moment you have a terror attack, it will be on the first page, which everyone will remember. But if there's a busting of a module, it will go to the 7th page. And that's exactly what has happened over this period of time. It's not as if nothing has happened. Efforts and attempts have been going on all the time. But our intelligence agencies and the police organizations have done, I think, a superb job. To come back to your specific question here, this is a new generation. And this new generation is doing exactly what the rest of the new generation around the world is doing. That is sticking to their screens, being completely involved with the cyber activities all the time. It's not difficult to actually convey messages to them. From time to time, this messaging is going on all the time. Everyone is carrying a mobile with them. Everyone is on the computer. There are all kinds of apps which are available. As a result, a fair amount of radicalization has taken place and is expanding. All the efforts that the international agencies are making in India that we are making are maybe inadequate to actually, in any way suppress these other activities. That is why I quoted a fine example of Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, where you have networked, members of the clergy who are there available, moderate people available there to give interpretations of the holy scriptures of Islam and things like that. That is where a fairly successful model has emerged. But unfortunately, scientifically, this has not been done in most other areas of the world.
So, another thing, before I go to Ambassador Bhatia, General Hussain, the voices of moderate Islam are often not chased by the media. Being a journalist myself, I have no hesitation in saying that the moderate voices of Islam are not chased by the media, who generally look for the radical voices because that gives a better copy.
That's always the case with most media issues which are concerned that dog bites man, it doesn't make news, but man dog bites dog always makes news.
Yeah.
So something awkward will always make news, and this is what it happens in this case. The issue of radicals, radical activities, etc., is very newsworthy. But the activities and utterances, writings of moderates and moderate people will normally not draw attraction because it is something which is considered just normal. And normal is boring for people.
Absolutely. General Kulkarni, we'll get that connection back with Ambassador Bhatia. I think he has put it off or something. We'll get him back. Now, General Kulkarni, what needs to be done? Now, basically, these people, as General Hussain said that media does not focus when a terror module is busted, and thereafter whenever these people like them visits Turkey, visits UAE, visits Saudi Arabia, nobody sees anything wrong in that. So how do you deal with this? Because by simply people moving from one place to another is not enough to put a curb on such visits. So it's a little tricky kind of a situation. What do you do? How do you deal with these de-radicalization programs? What needs to be done? Are we doing enough soft power utilization to de-radicalize potential people who may be already in our list?
See, India is a soft state, number one. Number two, within India also, there is now voices are emerging to be able to tell people that, well, look, Islam is a peaceful religion. And therefore, this aberration is something that the Muslims themselves will now have to address. Third, the very important point I feel is, like the success of this particular operation, a greater tragedy has been averted, is primarily because of synergy and jointness was exhibited from J&K police, Delhi police, UP police, Haryana police, Gujarat police, Hyderabad police. All of them acted together and worked out, and therefore a greater tragedy was averted. There is now need to have a minister for internal security, counter-terrorism. Not necessarily, he could be under the Home Minister, he could be working under the PMO, he could be anywhere. But there is a requirement to coordinate all this, to be able to say that the last 10, 15 years, nothing else has happened and therefore we are able to control it. Terrorism will never end. The time is theirs. They will decide what they want and when they want. It is not for us. So therefore, 99% of the cases, even if we have been able to block and bust them, it's only this 1% aberration which will make news. Everybody knows that would make news. And therefore, it's very important that synergy, constant synergy, is 26, it is 24/7, 365 days, I would say 3,650 days.
So,
you have
yes,
to be
so
vigilant,
basically,
because these things will happen.
Yeah, basically what you were saying is that there is no scope for complacency. We have to be on our toes 24/7. That's what General Kulkarni, you are basically saying. Let me go to Ambassador Bhatia. But before I've been told by my producer I have to take a very, very quick commercial break. After that, we are coming to you, Ambassador Bhatia and Dr. Bibhu Rotre. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Point of View. Let me go straight to Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia. Ambassador Bhatia, from the point of view of a diplomat, today we heard the Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, saying that, okay, well, we wanted to offer help to India to deal with the investigations, but no, India is doing a fine job, so on and so forth. But then I want to bring to your mind once again what our Prime Minister said in Thimphu during his visit. He said that we are going to bring justice. We are going to bring justice, and we are going to book the conspirators. And that reminded me of what the President of the United States said when they were looking for Osama bin Laden. He said that we will smoke you out from the Tora Bora ranges. Now my question to a diplomat is this. These people are visiting countries, Turkey, Nepal, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Do you think there is also need for specific coordinations, specific coordination, real-time intelligence sharing? Do you think we are doing enough? Do you think there are something that we can still do?
Thank you very much, and I'm glad that electricity supply has been restored here at my end. I want to share with you that, there is a theoretical aspect and there is a practical aspect. In terms of theory, sitting in television studios or sitting in academic conference rooms, it's very easy for us to say, zero tolerance, and therefore there should be zero terrorism. But we all know that the real world is different. In the real world, people obviously misuse the liberties given to them. Rules and regulations that are in operation, they get flouted. So what comes out to my mind very clearly is that when authorities, intelligence authorities, other agencies, they are able to detect anything that is irregular, which is leading you to a situation of a terrorist incident, they take action, and mostly they are successful. Sometimes they're not successful. And as you heard from our own counter-terrorism experts, 100% success is not possible, and 100% extermination of terrorism is also not possible. So that brings us actually to the other underlying subterranean reality, which is that perhaps for de-radicalization, not enough work is being done. You made a point yourself about the moderate voices, but one can also talk about the role of universities, educational institutions, spiritual institutions, non-governmental organizations, NGOs. Everything cannot be left to the government exclusively.
Yeah.
That I think is the point I'm making, and I think through this channel, I would like to put it to our own panel whether we can mobilize the society as such, not just the state, but the society, so that terrorism is seen as a totally misguided way to redress your grievances. You have grievances, there is a political system. We are in a democracy. Go and use it. But if you misuse the liberties given, then there is a problem. And I think people at large will have to appreciate their responsibility.
Absolutely. Dr. Bibur Otre, are you really surprised that in this case, the medical institutions, I mean, what in the Kashmir Valley and the medical institute that we are talking about, the Al Falah University in Haryana, they recruited people who were sacked by the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, of Kashmir for terrorist activities. The professors from medical colleges in Kashmir who were sacked for terrorist activities and anti-national activities, they were being recruited freely by that university in Al Falah, and we have seen the result.
I'll not read much into that because all these things that are appearing in the media are mostly speculative in nature. But what I'd like to add to what General Hasnain said in the beginning, both radicalization and de-radicalization are complex subjects. People get radicalized for a variety of reasons. There used to be literature online radicalization processes by the ISIS or by Al-Qaeda or other groups. Now there is a trend that to self-radicalize yourself. Now, if somebody is trying to self-radicalize, he's actually crossed that 50% mark. And he's actually looking for materials which are plentifully available online. Now we get into the de-radicalization part. Singapore has done excellent work, but it's a small compact state. It is actually able to monitor each and every citizen of his. Malaysia has done excellent work. Indonesia has done very good work. But then they also been racked by something called the concept of recidivism, which means that a person who is supposed to be de-radicalized can actually come back after spending a good amount of time as a naturalized and peaceful citizen and create a terror attack. So here the individual motivations become very important. That how far one person, in spite of being a professional career, is willing to go and carry out an attack. We saw that during the ISIS era, when people from very good family backgrounds, from good educational background with stable jobs, left their job and went and joined the ISIS, not just from India, and it happened at a very small scale from India, but also from the UK, from Australia, from all over the world. So this particular radicalization and de-radicalization part needs to be sort of studied and dealt with very sort of carefully before we jump into somebody to accuse somebody. Why is that person doing a particular job, or why is a person has a particular frame of mind?
Right.
That's my point of information.
But let me take that to General Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, do we see the return of suicide attacks or Fidayeen style attacks in India? Because this was the signature kind of an attacks which we saw earlier in Afghanistan and tribal Pakistan.
Well, I wouldn't say that this was actually a Fidayeen attack, because it was something that had gone wrong. And otherwise, the doctor, along with that, maybe about 300 kgs of explosive in his car and 2 more passengers along with him, moving around everywhere, he knew what he had. But then the panic set in. Now, one doesn't really know. The investigation will reveal what it is. But notwithstanding that, there is this radicalization, this terrorism that we are talking about is not going to go so easily. We have to get at the root cause of being able to minimize or totally attempt to eradicate radicalization, and to be able to address that part of it, which is very important. Now, where are these doctors? See, a doctor removes your pain and you're going to the Maulvi for a gain. Now, these are the two individuals who are actually being able to see how the society works and where you really need to work on. And hence, I personally would say that this particular part, who's funding, who's training, who's motivating, that's what is very important. Now, countries like Turkey have got into it. Now, you find Turkey modules working in Bangladesh, working in Nepal, at the behest of Pakistan, and been able to supply the money. These people are visiting Turkey for the last 2-3 years. A lot of activities were going on. That means something was being planned. If we thought that, well, we have been able to take, like what Ambassador Bhatia rightly said, if you are looking at total zero, it can't go to zero. Yes, our tolerance must be zero, but the attempt, if you feel that we've been able to eradicate, it's impossible to eradicate unless people themselves realize that, yes, this is something which is bad, it is something that we should not indulge in, or because in a democracy, there are various means of being able to, be able to air your views or air your grievances. But somewhere or the other, I think this radicalization part, this is, I think, to a large extent, Wasif, I would personally, my personal opinion is, now, like if I am posted in J&K, I don't read Arabic, I don't read Urdu, neither do I understand Kashmiri. Now, imagine if I've spent all my life over there not doing it, what they are doing.
Right.
Now, this police officer was able to detect on 19th of October what has happened by the poster. That too, I'm sure, Wasim, you would have told one of these media, just see what's going on and what is written on it.
Absolutely.
So that is where it is.
Let me take the same question to General Atta Hussain. General Hussain, what we saw in Delhi, do you look at it as a return of suicide terrorism to India, which was so generally peculiar to Afghanistan and parts of Pakistan and so on?
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, great. Yes, this is an important question. First of all, there is no history of suicide bombing in India, except Chennai, where Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi lost his life at that time, if you remember. Otherwise, Jammu and Kashmir has had 5 incidents, no more than 5 incidents. The Jammu and Kashmir assembly attack, 2 attacks on Badami Bagh cantonment, the Pulwama bus attack, and 1 attack on an army bus near Patan in 2004. 5 attacks I can recall immediately for you. Now, there is a lot of difference between suicide terrorism and suicide bombing. Suicide terrorism involves a terrorist armed with a weapon getting into a camp or getting into an institution and killing people left and right with an AK-47 or any other weapon. A suicide bomber is one who straps himself with the explosives or gets into a car which is laden with explosives and prepared for it and blows himself up. Now, was Dr. Umar a suicide bomber? To my mind, no. To my mind, this whole, I mean, it is only conjecture that one can really involve with from common military knowledge that we have, or common knowledge of intelligence affairs that we have. What we can sort of conjecture is that there was a level of panic based upon the busting of this module, the recovery of a huge amount of explosive. These people were on the mission to try and distribute and place this explosive in different parts of Delhi. They may not have looked at carrying out an action immediately on that same day or the next or the day after that. They were perhaps looking for 6th of December or some other date, important landmark date in the history of the calendar of this year. So, based upon that, there's some kind of an accidental detonation has taken place. Why I'm saying that is because there are really very few doctors. There are two types of doctors. One are medical doctors, and the other are explosive doctors. The doctors who make bombs.
Yeah.
Right? These bombs, there are lots of these ID doctors in Kashmir. Many of them have been neutralized. They are not available so easily today. So most of the people who are preparing these bombs are preparing them from YouTube knowledge. Picking up from YouTube online education and trying to put together explosives and wires and things like that. Very, very prone to accidents, this kind of a thing. You put together a crude contraption and put it in your car and you want to transport it somewhere, there's a very strong chance that it goes off prematurely. So this kind of a thing probably has happened. But now that this intelligence is telling us 32 places they wanted to put, there could not be 32 suicide bombers, I can assure you. There would be 32 locations where IEDs in cars would be placed, pre-located to try and blow up and create a mayhem. That's what is the likely situation. Let me comment on one important aspect also. This aspect of counter-radicalization. If I may tell you, how do you undertake such a campaign if you don't know the religion at all which you're trying to, you're going to de-radicalize or counter-radicalize people who are following that faith? In the army, I can assure you, 95% of the people don't have one iota of an idea of Islam. Right? I was asked at one stage, I remember, by Headquarters Northern Command of the Indian Army to educate a lot of people in Kashmir who were serving in Kashmir about Islam. So I created a presentation. I'm giving that presentation even tomorrow at a military institution. I have given thousands of these presentations for over a period of the last 20 years. But I still have not been able to convince people that your enemy, your adversary follows Islam, the terrorist follows Islam, the overground worker follows Islam. Why don't you understand and try and study Islam better to understand it and understand the mind of those people? That we fail to do. And unless we do that, counter-radicalization and de-radicalization is a very difficult exercise.
Well, that is a very, very significant point that you have made, and only perhaps you could have talked about it in such clear terms, having yourself dealt with the issue and making, as you said, hundreds of presentations, not just to any XYZ, but to officials of the army, and that is something which is a very moot point that you have said. I'll come to you, Ambassador Bhatia, but let me go quickly to Dr. Bibhu Rotre. Dr. Rotre, are we not using, I was asking the question in a different manner, I was asking the question that moderate Islamic voices are not really taken into account or not really pushed, not really chased by whether it is the media or whether it is the authorities and so on and so forth, even the civil society. Do you think that is a gap and that should be utilized in a much more systematic manner? Because moderate voices and people belonging to a same faith, do you think that will be able to do a much better de-radicalization job?
That will be a useful tool, certainly, because people who talk about peace, people who talk about violence not being the adequate or the only instrument of change can do certainly impact certain mindsets. But again, when we come back to understand radicalization, you do not need thousands and thousands of people to carry out terrorist attacks. You just need 5 or 6 people who are adequately radicalized and who are willing to go a certain way, giving up their own career. Today we are talking too much about doctors. Tomorrow it can be engineers. Tomorrow, day after, it can be any other professionals. Basically, we are talking about educated people
Yeah.
who have basic knowledge about organizing themselves in a different, in particular ways, procuring weapons, explosives, and manufacturing IEDs, and then placing them with the intention of killing themselves or escaping from that kind of a location. So while moderate Islam, people who talk about peace can certainly make an impact, will still have certain gaps which will be exposed, which will be utilized, or which will be exploited by people who have already radicalized themselves
Yes.
by certain factors. Now, it is for that purpose very important to understand for the state and the agencies and the people who are in charge of family policy, what are we facing? Who are our adversaries? Are they based in Pakistan all the time? Or there are people who are here and who have been disenchanted by different kinds of factors? Now, our policies to these two broad groups who have been externally influenced or who have been internally sort of managed will vary. I mean, then policies will be different from for containing
Right.
terror from Pakistan,
Right.
and policies will have to be different for people who are inside and who have radicalized themselves.
Homegrown. Yeah, I'll ask one question to both Ambassador Bhatia, General Kulkarni, and General Atta Hasnain. What do you think about the changing nature of the support base? What I'm talking about is, if I may pick up that word, the changing, the altering demographic profile of the terrorist sympathizers or people who back terrorism. Mostly we find here's a set of doctors, a beaver doctor said tomorrow it can be anybody. But at the end of the day, we are seeing a younger lot, better educated, who have access to the social media, who have access to a lot of information. First, Ambassador Bhatia.
Yes, I think, we have been really enlightened and educated by this recent episode. I'm almost tempted to say that some of these members, they belong to Generation Z or Generation Z of urban India. And clearly, this is not coming from villages. It is coming from, not even cities. It's coming from big urban towns. And I think a very close critical review and reading of reports also suggests two names came up. Obviously, a lot was happening in Faridabad, and the other geography was undoubtedly Kashmir. So I just wanted to answer to you by saying that in contrast to what Pakistan did 3 days back, the moment something happened there in the court, they lost not even a few seconds to place the blame on India.
Yes.
India has shown much greater maturity and thinking by not doing that kind of nonsense. We still have gradually moved from what we described as a conspiracy to an act of terrorism. And now, obviously, investigations would reveal as to what is the extent of the accountability of the internal and external actors. So we are doing it very well, and we should continue to show that maturity.
Absolutely. General Kulkarni, the changing demographics of the terrorist support base, do you see a sharp difference?
See, there are two, three things which are very important if you have to really de-radicalize. First and foremost, no complacency. Second, obviously, human int must not be ignored, irrespective of the electronic intelligence that you may be gathering around. We would have encrypted Telegram, we will have all kinds of links available, all kinds of apps. Human intelligence cannot be substituted. And thirdly, at all times, what we say, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, it's very important to see as to why certain group is not as yet being willing to accept what good we are attempting to do. What is it that is bothering them? And until and unless we address that problem, today we might say that, well, we've done away with Maoism. It may not, it might just crop up tomorrow again. And therefore, nothing. This is a constant problem. This problem exists. We must accept that there is a problem and we must be at it, tackling 24 by 7. If it lies dogo for the next 100 years, so be it, and and that is not exactly what we want. But to get
Right.
complacent that probably we've been able to address it, no. And in that context, human intelligence, human understanding, because it's only a human being. All others are aids to that human being to become a terrorist and radicalize themselves and get indoctrinated for this kind of a destruction. So we have to get at the root cause and be
Yeah.
able to address it.
General Hussain, I have named today's discussion India on the cusp of urban terror, question mark. Now my question to you, we have seen in the last couple of months, we have seen lot of Gen Z protests, whether it is in Nepal, whether it is Bangladesh, and so on and so forth. Now, Gen Z protests, they think that they can move, shake and move and shake things. That is the impression. They think everybody is doing something, everything wrongly. They have a point of view, and they want to achieve their point of view. Now, if you put that into the context of what is happening in the new phase of terror, if we accept that this is a new phase of urban terror, where the demographic itself is altering or changing, where we have a set of younger people with a lot of access to a lot of tools, and there's a common kind of an anger, common kind of a resentment or frustration that they see around them, not just in their own country but outside. Do you think this is a cause for worry?
See, Vasant Sahab, the thing is that societal change has been taking place over a period of time. We are seeing the manifestation of that with an incident such as that which has happened in Delhi. I remind you of ISIS having withdrawn 40,000 fighters from all over the world, and not cannon fodder. They were all mostly educated people who joined ISIS as early as 2015, 16, 17 and 18. Lots of people went from India too. Mostly people who went from India were those from the much lower strata of society and who did not emerge as warriors, etc. there. So this societal change has hit us a little late. It has come to us, it has hit us late. Our urban class, the upwardly mobile, educated class, etc., has definitely become more vulnerable with the growth of cyber propaganda and social media and things like that. To generalize and say that Gen Z across the world has the similar characteristics, yes, there are few characteristics which are there. But as far as India is concerned, I think Gen Z doesn't really get driven by the same causes of what has happened in Nepal or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. Which economy of the world is 6.8 to 7% growth
Yes,
today?
that's the point. Yes.
No one, I mean, what you have got to offer in India is everything. Right? This kind of a thing will happen where there is a negative growth process, where there are no opportunities for growth, etc. India is an upwardly mobile country looking to be a 5 trillion, 10 trillion, $15 trillion economy of Viksit Bharat in 2047. Aspirations are huge. So I don't generalize this thing completely. The problem when we were assessing this issue when the ISIS recruitment took place in 2014-15, the word used was nihilism, destructive nihilism. I used this word today in the article also when I wrote for the New Indian Express. Destructive nihilism was all about being very happy with destructive power. And when a generation of people have achieved a fairly high quantum for themselves, they tend to start getting regressive. That is
Right.
what the human psychology says. And that is
Absolutely.
what happened in the case of ISIS. This is perhaps what is happening here too, because of the
Right.
effect of all the social media which is taking place. My
Yes.
last point for you is also the fact something which has not been tried out enough in India. It's been tried out successfully in Singapore, the use of moderate clergy. Right?
Yes.
You mean say in a country with the 190 million Muslims, we can't find 100 members of the clergy who are highly patriotic and highly nationalistic. We have to draw them in. They are the people who will become the seed factor, who draw people to them and send out this message. We have to be proactive about it. We can't just wait for someone to come and start doing this for us. We got to take the initiative in doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is the very important point you made. Nobody is using the moderate clergy much. And yes, absolutely. And you also talked about that we are a country with a growth rate of 6.8%. Even the United States is growing at a rate of 2 to 3%, not to speak about the other countries. And that speaks volumes. Now, final round of comments. I'm just about to close this discussion. Bibhu Rotre, very quickly, what is the road ahead now? What needs to be done? Very, very quickly, very briefly.
Very briefly, I think radicalization, if you take this incident as a product of radicalization, radicalization doesn't happen in a vacuum. It has a context, it has factors. So those factors will have to be addressed. We need to know who the adversary is, how they are feeling this kind of a discontent.
Right.
And unless we do that, we will be addressing them from a very sort of superficial level and nothing will work.
General Kulkarni, final comments, please.
Absolute vigilance, no dropping of guard, no complacency whatsoever. Understand Islam, find out what, why, and where things are wrong, and be able to address that. I'm sure things will be set right automatically.
Absolutely. Ambassador Bhatia, final comments, sir?
I would say basically that the discussion makes it very clear that there is a very solid expectation from us to contribute to raising public awareness about the danger of urban terrorism coming from educated class, probably coming from a particular section of the society. And the more we are able to sensitize people at large, the better it would be for, by way of helping our...
Absolutely. Absolutely, Ambassador. Very, very well said. Final comments from you, General Hussain, please.
I would sum up only in a few words. 3 days ago, I was attending a seminar in Jaipur. The seminar was titled WONA, W-O-N-A.
Okay.
A whole of nation approach. WONA, whole of nation approach. In countering terrorism, every single citizen of India is a soldier of India. Don't leave it to the intelligence agencies and don't leave it to the police forces and to the army to resolve this. This is not a problem that can be resolved by police forces with the help of a weapon. It has to be resolved by every citizen soldier of India.
Absolutely. That is the message that has come out. Everybody needs to work for national security, for the integrity and security of our country. Everybody is a soldier. It's not just men in khaki or olive green. It is every single one of us who needs to contribute our bit. At the end of the day, we also need to utilize the moderate voices of Islam. Moderate clergymen needs to be used in our effort at de-radicalization. And of course, as General Hussain and everyone else in this esteemed panel said, that we have to get the better of this, because only technology or the security forces cannot deal with a problem like this. I'd like to thank my panelists, General Atta Hussain, General Kulkarni, Ambassador Bhatia, Dr. Bibhu Rotre. Thank you very much for joining me on this show, and thanks the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.